study that it pays to slow down and make sure that you're hearing from God. Peter saw Jesus walking on the boat. He says, oh, wow, that's amazing. Out of all the 12, he was the only one that was motivated and inspired by what he saw Jesus do. But he was wise enough not to just step out on the boat and start walking just because he saw somebody else do it. Some of us, you can't just go out there and start a business because you saw somebody else do it. You can't just go out there and say, I want to get married because this is wedding season and I've been to 4 or 5 weddings and I want to get married because I don't want to be the only one left out. And so I'm about to get me a boo and I'm going to hurry up and get married. Don't just do something because you see someone else do it. Peter was wise enough to check with the Lord and said, if it be you, then bid me to come. What was he doing? Asking for permission, because he was wise enough to know that if you don't endorse this walk on water, which is supernatural, then I'm going to drown in the very thing that I'm trying to walk on top of. And some of us tonight, has nothing to do with our lesson, is drowning because we moved prematurely and we went without God's permission. I can still use you even in the midst of you moving prematurely. I still use people who have failures of their past. I'm not looking for a perfect person. I'm looking for imperfect people to do my perfect will. And Moses, stop disqualifying yourself because of what you did before. Type this on the screen. God is fully aware of your failures of the past. You're up there trying to convince God. See, God, I think you got this all messed up. This couldn't be me that you want. Do you remember what I did? I got a murder charge on my record. I'm a felon. You couldn't want me. I'm a fugitive. Are you sure? Ain't that what we do when God calls us to do something now? We like, this is just too good to be true. My mind is blown. I can't believe that you still want me in spite of what I did. Do you know what I was in my past? That's why I don't go nowhere now. I walk with my head down because I was a mess and a half in my past. I not only had some failures, I got a record. I'm trying to talk to somebody in here. And you have convinced yourself because of your history that God can't do nothing with you now in the present. I think God is wise enough to thoroughly investigate an individual about a matter before he comes to them about what his task or his assignment is concerning them. You don't think God took in consideration about Moses' background? You don't think God knew about that when he did it? Let me come grab you. You don't think God knew he would do it before he did it? And yet the shouting news of this text, before we indulge further, is that God still called Moses in spite of his record. Went over some of y'all head because you procrastinating, because you keep living in the failures of the past. God has given you new grace and new mercy. Yesterday is history, right? The future is a mystery. We don't know what the future holds. But at the present, this is a gift. And right now, God is gracing Moses with his presence, saying, listen, I know what you were, I know who you are, and I know what you'll become. And I'm still choosing you right now. So some of you on this live don't get the right to continue to keep pushing it off, especially when God has captured you in a way where you know it is God dealing with you. You no longer get a license to get or a pass to keep saying, but I don't know. I just don't know. No, that's a convenient excuse to procrastinate on doing what you know the Lord is calling you to do. And we're going to deal with the 5 excuses that Moses dealt with if the Lord allows us to have time tonight. But I just felt led to say this tonight, that many Moseses on this live today that have a history. Maybe you didn't murder nobody, but you did something very, very wicked or bad that tarnished your name. And you failed at it when you did it. You did it, but it didn't work. It stained your record. People remember you by that. They nickname you by the failure of what you did. And yet here it is, God is having a conversation with Moses in spite of all of that, saying, hey, listen, I am choosing to deal with you. I am preparing you to go to deal with Pharaoh. I'm sending you back to the place where you failed so that you could deal with Pharaoh and lead my people out of Egypt. God, but why did you choose me? We may never know why God chooses us. With all the stuff that we have done, we may never fully understand why he loves us so and why he still calls us in spite of when folk have given up on us and have written us off and have told us that we were done, that we were yesterday goods. Get rid of them, write them off. Do you know what they did? And God, you still want me. This probably was all mind blowing for Moses. And you want me to go back there? Okay, Lord. You sure you thought this over? Like, you ever question God? Because it just don't seem real. Like, you want me to go back to a job where they fired me from and apply again? It's crazy. Crazy, but nevertheless, not my will, right? And what is his purpose? So who is he saying? Amenhotep II. Where is he sending them? Egypt. And what is the purpose? All of this is in verse 10. What is the purpose? That I'm using you to lead my people, Israelites, out of Egypt. You can't bring them out of something if you don't go in. So I need you to go in there. You need to go in so that you can bring them out by my mighty hand. All right. Next, we're going to deal with excuses offered. Write that on the screen. Excuses offered. God wouldn't send them out into the world if he hadn't taken out the time to invest in them and develop them and train them. He knew that by the time he gave the Great Commission to go, that they were fully equipped and prepared and trained to do what he had called them to do. Moses, your 40 years of being away from that place wasn't in vain. You were being developed by stubborn sheep. You were being disciplined on the backside of the mountain. You were being prepared for such a time as this. No one set in your practice. No one got a chance to see your bloopers. No one knows about your gifts or your abilities. But I've been watching the whole time. I've been using this whole 40-year experience to develop you and train you for this very moment. So if you're questioning if you're capable, if I didn't think you were capable, I wouldn't have sent you. Lord have mercy. Why? Because my name on the line. This time, put it on the screen. This time, it got to work. It got to work. It got to work this time. It got to work. Why? I failed many times before. I can't tell you how many times I failed. But this time, it got to work. How can you be so sure of that? Because the Lord this time sent me. You got to go read. You got to go back to Bible study last week and the week before to understand that you got to make sure it's the Lord talking to you. God will let you know because he's not the author of confusion. Look what he told Moses through the burning bush. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What was he doing? He was giving Moses his identity so that he had clarity. You ain't got to second guess this or wonder if there's somebody else speaking to you. It's me. It's me. Now that I have identified myself, listen up. We got work to do. All right. Now, if the Lord ain't endorsed it, don't you move trying to make sure you felt like you was hearing something in the spirit. This ain't the time to be super spiritual, because you can sound and sing super spiritual and get out there and still fail and get embarrassed. Make sure it's God. Sheep hear my voice, my sheep, and they know that it is me. They know that it is me, and they will not obey the voice of another. A lot of times we don't think we're good enough for something because some time that went past. But if God got you involved in the plan, then obviously whatever you ain't qualified or good at, God's going to make up the majority, and he's going to fill in those parts where you're deficient in, because it's got to work because he sent you. Stop focusing and highlighting all of the bloopers, because with Christ, all things are possible. He's aware of what you're not capable of doing. So if he's still sending you, even with the things that you know that you're inadequate in, but yet he's still sending you, don't you think he got a plan to cover the areas where you deficient in? Come on now. Come on now. Come on now. Now you about to talk yourself out of something. Now again, we got to first make sure it's the Lord. But if it is indeed him, God, he calls us with our inadequate selves. he aware of what you limited in and what you're not able to do, right? When you bring the people out of Egypt. So God talking like it's already going to happen. Look what he's telling him beforehand. When you bring the people, God has already saw the end of this thing and is telling Moses, you got to catch up, mayonnaise. You got to catch up, mustard. I'm telling you what this is going to be. I'm telling you, you're going to be at this mountain with over 1 million people. And this is going to be a mountain that you're going to remember this conversation. And look what he said. And when he's telling him in the present what's going to happen in the future. And when you bring the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this mountain. I can relate to verse 12. What is God giving him in verse 12? Although Moses felt inadequate in verse 11, God is giving him assurance in verse 12.